Hello Galactic family. Why is the world the way it is? What is my purpose on this earth? What is spirit? What is God? What is the archetypal myth that I'm living? Over the course of my life these questions have emerged and keep emerging. As I've walked my path, I realized more and more that I don't know anything, and yet it is all right there, hidden in plain sight. I live in a constant mystery embedded in an eternal present. The energy moves and flows. The mind is like an empty singing bowl that can be filled with many thoughts. You can empty the bowl only by stopping to identify with these thoughts. When you hit the empty bowl with a stick, the sound vibrates into eternity, as I become part of the whole. My identification with I, who I think I am, ceases to be and washes away into infinity. The stars and planets dance, the birds are singing, the water flows and the sun emerges again, and I'm still here on this earth in this world. Many years ago, I started to seek answers to those opening questions and many more. On my path, I connected to the spirituality of the earth and the cosmos. I found it in power plants, in the mountains, in the oceans, in the desert, in the jungle of Peru, and in some embodied curanderos. I've met a spirituality that transcends our way of physically seeing the world, beyond thought and death. This continuing process and initiations were the stick that played the bowl and emptied my mind, freeing myself from the conditioning in order to learn to love, to forgive, to live and to die. These were years of disillusionment, struggle, healing, unlearning and learning as my warrior self was activated and reborn within me. I had visions of the dark and light, of above and below. About 13 years ago I was working with a power medicine plant in the jungle under the guidance of a native curandero who also became my friend and teacher. The plant activated my astral vehicle within my body and I left the earth, traveling into space. I saw fireworks around me that extended deep into space, a massive golden meteor shower as big as several Earths. I moved closer and suddenly I was in the middle of these golden particles. At this point I started to receive information from otherworldly beings, about their own purpose and evolution spanning over thousands of years in just a few seconds of telepathic transmission. I could hear a chaotic sound noise while they were transmitting this information. It was intense but also exciting at the same time. There was no fear. I was receiving images during this download as well. This went on periodically until I left the cloud of golden particles. Then I entered a big room. In the middle of it was a large black stone table with some alien glyphs carved in it. The table had a rectangular shape and there were several beings dressed in black clothes and hats sitting at it. They were staring at each other without saying a word. Their faces were very serious and they seemed frustrated. At this moment I realized that these entities were manipulating the evolution of human beings on planet Earth, and also on other planets and solar systems. I also understood that their plan has been compromised because of a higher energy entering the cosmos and affecting Earth and spacetime. It is counteracting their agenda and there is nothing they can do about it. So they are just waiting in frustration, and in seeming desperation. This higher energy that is originating from the center of the universe is accelerating the evolution of consciousness to the next level. It is also accompanied by positive high-frequency beings assisting the transition, and anyone who answers the call to participate in this transformation, but they don't do the work for us. After exiting this room I went through some transparent wires that were carriers of flowing energy, as I understood and experienced them. After passing through these wires I entered another room. There was a small crystal table and 2 chairs made of crystal. In each of those chairs were sitting shadows. They had no volume or substance. There were 3 objects suspended motionless, Right above the table a cube, a cone, and a sphere, each in a different color. I suddenly understood that these shadow beings use these objects to transmit the energy of fear to humans on Earth. They work in dream time and through other people whom they use as portals, including businessmen, politicians, scientists, artists, musicians, healers, spiritualists, writers, journalists, athletes, filmmakers, etc. I realized that they are manipulating our world through a hyperdimensional technology that affects the minds of humans, installing fear, confusion, anxiety, separation, terror, feeding ego consciousness, and also working with temptation and ego hooks. Hence many well-meaning people are also getting hijacked by these entities in their hyperdimensional manipulation, without their conscious awareness. I understood that these beings feed on our life force and manipulate humanity, keeping them in a frequency prison. After I left this place I went even further into space until I came across gigantic stone structures carved with what looked like Mayan glyphs. These structures were unified like pieces of a puzzle. To me it resembled the cosmic alignment, symbolizing how everything is interrelated and connected with each other. A cosmic union. As I was traveling further into space it seemed like I was approaching the edge of it. There were almost no stars visible and it got darker and darker. It was like the border of an expansion and I could feel the space breathing, expanding and contracting. At this point I realized that I was confronted with the unknown and couldn't possibly understand what was happening. The only thing I realized was that in my human condition, my mind could not process such information. All of a sudden I started to feel a very powerful vibration that enveloped me. From a far distance I heard the icaros from my curandero friend. Gradually I heard it louder and louder until I finally began to feel my body again. It was a very heavy sensation to be back in this lower density of our physical body. I opened my eyes and was back sitting in the room with everybody else. The next day, I started reading a book that a good friend gave to me, Bringers of the Dawn by Barbara Marciniak. This book resonated very deeply with me and helped me to give context to my experience the previous day. Tears and smiles were coming out of me in the process of reading it. I couldn't put it down. It was a profound confirmation of what I had seen and experienced, even like a remembering, as if I have always known it. It also inspired me to give the best of myself, and keep learning more about the healing arts to help others in the process of awakening, while working on my own emancipation process as well. Stepping into the warrior self to establish our sovereignty as embodied human beings connected to nature and the divine within. It's the path of embodied knowledge, anchoring the higher frequency of unconditional love as we humbly learn our lessons through the great changes and challenges we face as individuals on this journey. There are negative forces most often posing as positive ones, who try to keep us locked in a frequency of fear and confusion, as they manipulate our human free will to align with their own negative agenda. And there are higher positive forces who assist and guide us in the emancipation process that is awakening in many of us, inspiring us to answer the call, but as I mentioned before, they don't do the work for us. We need to learn to become our own embodied leaders, tuned in to our inner guidance and not give away our power to any external authority. I also realized that sound and music are great keys to help us heal, raise awareness, and our frequency. But it all depends on the intention and how it is being applied. Sound and music is also being used for mind control in the matrix world, manipulating us in unconscious ways. Knowledge of how sounds and frequencies work is important. Sound has the ability to influence matter since all matter is energy vibrating on a certain frequency. The whole universe is comprised of frequency and vibration. Most of it is outside our limited five sensory perceptions. Words and thoughts are also made up of frequencies. Our body vibrates on a certain frequency based on one's inner developments and level of being. We are also able to create musical instruments that establishes a connection to the spiritual world with the right intentions and knowledge. In that way, sound and music can assist in spiritual and consciousness development. Essentially, I realized that during this time of transition, the crisis we experience in the world and in our personal lives, is an opportunity to make the quantum leap to a higher state of consciousness and being. From this experience in my life, I made the commitment to serve in this time of transition, waking myself up into this new consciousness, facilitating healing in some way to help others. This powerful energy is awaking and calling us, and it is up to each one of us to answer the call and embark onto the journey of the hero warrior. It's the call to transcend this mutant matrix, the current low vibrational paradigm. To heal, to forgive, to give gratitude, and to love unconditionally in order to empty the singing bowl to allow these higher energies to fill it up. In other words, we need to empty our vessel and prepare it to become conscious transducers of higher energies in alignment with divine will. There is a lot of work for us as individuals and as a community to do so we can make it to the next level of the spiral. The process of becoming embodied peaceful warriors in our own personal journey of the hero can be challenging, but the only way out is through. The time is now to align with the shift. We are the ones we have been waiting for.